This aspect, like in the olden days, when a husband, like a wife who's lost the husband, they mourn the person through. Sometimes they use a normal black and black in the olden days, but the church succeeded in changing it from that black to white. That sometimes you even ask the women, some of them will tell you that they cannot barb their hair, that they suffer to nurture that hair. Like, what do you have to say on that tradition?
Nothing. You don't impose a person on how he will grieve. Absolutely nothing. It's a personal choice. You don't impose on anybody the way to grieve, except Paul says, make sure you don't grieve about the death like people who don't have faith. If there is anything you are doing about the dead person that suggests you don't believe in the resurrection, or you don't believe in life after death, then the church has a right to educate and correct you. But if what you are doing does not contradict our faith, it is a personal choice. Whether it is black or white or green or red depends on what people believe and what they want to achieve. Now get this right. When you say the church, mothers, Catholic women, Christian mothers saw how their fellow women were being degraded at funerals of their husbands and came together and streamlined some of these things. Some were made to sit on the floor for weeks without a bath, without washing their hands. And these women, and dressed in black, why black?
They said that black is the mark of the dead.
So we who are called black men by Europeans now, we are devil and dead people. Whereas they who call themselves white people are the angels. We don't even know how we disgrace our own selves by the categories we use. Now, let me tell you the reason for the black. It is easier to hide dirty, to hide dirt. The person will be sitting there in black and maybe even staining herself, and nobody would notice it. And these rules are always about women. So the women, with the support of the bishop, said no. One, as a sign of the resurrection, we dress in white because we believe in the resurrection. And secondly, so that the woman can keep herself clean. Who would oppose such a decent regulation? And instead of staying for 1 year doing nothing, 6 months is enough. Let me ask you, if a woman from Nsukka or any part of the Igbo land is the governor of a state and her husband dies, will you tell Her Excellency to come and sit down for you in black on the floor for 1 year?
Not possible.
Oh. Things have changed and people should move with time. Nobody can regulate the way a woman mourns her husband. Ndị Igbo nwekwara inu a na-atụ na nwaanyị di ya nwụrụ, so a na-ekwukwe ka esi eni die, so kwukwe ka maka onye ga-akụchie. Now, which suggests to you that while the burial is going on and funeral is going on, some women may already be thinking of their future intimate life. Nwaanyị yi black ya na nwoke ọzọ na-ayị ema ọ gbasa gị. Oh. Nwaanyị yi white si na ya ma anụzi ọzọ na ife ya na ji ejere for 10 years ezugoro ihe ọ gbasa gị. These are issues, matters of personal choice, and the church guides for the protection of the dignity of the living and respect for the dead.
See on these practices, like when you come to Nsukka, we have this Nna issue. You know, they say Nna is a deity in charge of infidelity practice in Nsukka. That any married woman who indulges in this practice, in this aspect, like this act of having an affair with another man outside the marriage. For instance, now a man who's got married to a lady and mistakenly, maybe it happens that the woman did not know and she indulged in this act, which offense is to make the person either confess or die if the husband did not perform the rituals. what's the face of the church now on that person? Will the church punish the person? No.
I have advised that we stop generalizations. When you say Nsukka, the practice is not the same for all the areas that come under the territory of the Diocese of Nsukka. 2. Our forefathers had measures of control. And those measures were ritualized, made religious, and sent down to the psyche of the people. And it controlled their behavior. Right? So, our ancestors, forefathers, before Christianity came, said, if a woman ever, a married woman, ever does anything, commits sexual act with any other man, she has committed abomination. Jesus has taught us that even a man, if he looks at another woman with the desire of sleeping with her, has committed an abomination. The Catholic teaching on marital fidelity, Christian teaching on marital fidelity is more strict than the traditional teaching. 1, because it involves men and women, not just discriminatorily against women. 2, ndị be anyị so onye na-egbo ọgụ ya burugodo ụzọ gbo iru aka. So Jesus is telling you, you should not just not do it, you shouldn't even contemplate doing it. That is what the Catholic Church teaches, what the Christian Church teaches. So let us make the rule general. And yes, acts of marital infidelity kill. They kill the soul. They are deadly sins, mortal they are called. But for man and for woman, the only person who can forgive that is God, not your ancestor, not your husband or your wife will say, well, I know it is human weakness. I forgive you. Psalm 51, David says, after his own act of adultery, against you, God, have I sinned. And he was asking God to forgive him. So, it is general law, general moral law, and it applies to male and female, and men are not sincere when they limit that law only to women. And they argue, after all, a man is free to marry another wife. Go and marry that one now. Until you have married her, she's not your wife. So, and I want to tell you, the force of conscience is such that it can kill when we are not reconciled with God in our conscience. So don't be surprised that a person who feels guilty could have health issues. And they will tell you it is the Nna because she has not confessed. And add to that what fear can do. What fear can do. If you're here now that there was poisonous gas in this office for 15 minutes while you were here, as you go out, you may begin to feel dizzy. Your head will begin to turn. They come back and tell you it is not true. And then the dizziness will go. I'll tell you a story. A woman picked some mushrooms, and she didn't know whether they were edible or poisonous. So she cooked them and gave some to her cat and watched the cat for 2 hours. The cat didn't die. So she went and ate the mushrooms. After having eaten it, a man came in and said, Madam, are you the owner of the dead cat, black and white, that I just saw? The woman said, yes, I'm the one. And immediately her stomach turned. She felt so much stomach, and she went into her bathroom and threw up, called her doctor, and said she had eaten poisoned mushroom. And then came out and called back the man. Please, where is the body of the cat? The man answered, it's lying on the side of the road. It was knocked down by a car a few minutes ago. The woman immediately became well. It wasn't the mushroom after all. So that is the power of the human mind.
I interviewed some elders, and it was just a roadside interview. But I overheard them discussing something like that, so I was like, okay, let me find out from them. So they were like, that the burning and packing away of deity by the missionaries then, that it affected their migration. It affected their history and tradition, that their ancestors then set their settlement, they were traced through the deities. But because the church has succeeded in packing the deity, that it affected them. What's your view on this?
Well, it is easy to accuse others and attribute blames when we fail. One, the missionaries took away religious symbols that people handed over to them because they no longer wanted them. If other explorers packed what people were using as their religious symbols, that shouldn't be confused with what the missionaries did. One of my priests, Father Paul Obai, has collected a large quantity of such things arranged in our museum. And the people normally invited him. And he said he didn't want to destroy those things because some of them were works of art. After praying, he would collect them and keep them quietly somewhere. That is one point. Secondly, destruction of religious symbols is not the same thing as destruction of the reality in which somebody believes. Every religion, at some point in its history, has suffered persecutions. But they grow back based on what they believe, if that religion is really founded on truth. I will tell you a rich story. Sometimes overzealous religious people, yes, go and destroy places of worship of others and shrines and carry away and burn their religious symbols. Yes, sometimes overzealous, but that should not be made a generic thing, especially not for the missionaries. It once happened in one of the communities in Enugu that overzealous Christians, Catholics, went and burned the shrine of a deity. And the youths of that community vowed to burn down the church in revenge. And the priest of that deity, who was a small boy when the church was built, and who, though not a Christian, helped in carrying sand and water to build the church, felt it was a foolish idea. And he called the youth. This is a true story. He called the youths together and asked them, if you hear that a person is coming to burn your house, will you stay? They said, no. What will you do? I will run. They answered him. He asked them again, do you think that deity didn't know these people were coming? Remember, no, but They said, of course he knew. And he asked the third question, and do you think he waited for them to come and destroy him? They were quiet, and he answered them, he has gone away. They only destroyed some symbols. Don't worry. We will rebuild the house and bring other symbols and perform rites to beg him to come back. That was a wise man. And that is really what people should do. If they burn your church, that is wrong. But you don't go burning the place of worship of the person who burned your church. You make reparations and atonement. How many times was the Ark of the Covenant of the Jews carried away in wars? How many times? And they eventually managed to get it back when they started behaving properly. So it is wrong for anybody to destroy another person's articles of faith or symbols of faith. It is completely wrong. But then, when somebody has handed over his own artifacts to another person, let him now not turn back and say, this person destroyed my deity. In the first place. Apart from that, if it is a divinity, it can't be destroyed now. If in the first place. So I think people who say this type of thing, people who want to create conflict between Christians and non-Christians. One, often Christians who have gotten tired of their Christian faith and fallen back into traditional religion in a haphazard way. They can't be full traditionalists, they can't be Christians anymore, and they look for a thing to cause conflict between Christians and those who worship, who are not Christians, who worship in the traditional religious way. So we have to be careful when we create these tensions, because the Bible says that so thank you, and God bless you, and keep inquiring, but know also that there is so much falsehood being peddled as history. God bless you.
Thank you very much.